Hello, my name is Lauren Heath, and today I'll be presenting to you my SWOT analysis for the Wofford versus East Tennessee State University baseball playoff game in the Southern Conference tournament. I went to this game with a couple of my friends. We went to the 7:30 p.m. game, and we took a look and saw what strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that we can notice. So I'd like to start off with the strengths. The first strength that we took note of was that most of the teams in the tournament and in the conference are fairly local or in the region. So there was a lot of opportunity for parents and friends to come watch the games, and so that actually was a pretty good turnout at the game. A little bit more than I guess would be at a normal, or about the same that would be at a normal college game at home. So that was good. The tournament was also held in a neutral location, which is good for sports games, I guess, because there's no home team advantage. No team has the upper hand by knowing their field better or anything like that. Another strength was that the staff at the stadium was very knowledgeable and friendly. We asked, directions to a beverage cart and to the person who was staffed at the top of the stairs, kind of directing people to seats, and they knew exactly where it was, and we found it and got something to drink and went on with our night. Another strength that kind of goes along with that one is that there were a lot of concession stands and carts and beverage stations available throughout the venue, so you didn't have to walk very far to get to one that was all the way across the stadium, which was nice. The last strength that we noted was that all of the tickets for this tournament, for this game, were general admission, which is nice because we got to pick our seats and we got to pick, how close we were, or if we wanted to sit around a big group of people, or if we kind of wanted to keep to ourselves. That was nice because we got to choose where we got to sit. So now I'd like to move on to the weaknesses. The first weakness that we noticed was the location of the stadium is fairly close to the outskirts of downtown Greenville, which downtown Greenville is a great place, but in this area there's not a lot of the city kind of development, or it starts dwindling down around this area, so there's not a lot of parking garages, there's not a lot of parking lots nearby, and the parking lot for the stadium itself isn't that big. So finding parking is always, I've been to games at the stadium before as well, and finding parking spot at the stadium is always either you have to drive around and wait for someone to back out of a parallel parking spot, or you can pay $5 or $10 or however much for a random parking lot somewhere, but even then it's a pretty good walk over to the stadium. So parking is definitely a weakness. Either it's very difficult to find, or you have to walk far, or you have to pay a lot of money. So parking is definitely a weakness. Another weakness that we noticed was, even though there were a lot of concession stands, there were sometimes could be a long line at the concession stand, and this is kind of a problem that any really event is going to have. People just, if they're there and they're hungry, they're gonna want to eat, and if it's a large crowd, there's not really that much you can do because they can't fit any more concession stands in the stadium. Every piece that they have that can hold something is filled, so it's kind of just an unfortunate problem that occurs just because of the venue and the event. Another weakness that we noticed was that even though there was a pretty good turnout for the games, spectators wise, the stadium itself is a professional stadium, minor league team stadium, and so it's a little bit bigger than most college stadiums. So it looked a little more empty. It looked pretty empty, even though there was a good turnout of people for the game. It still was a lot less than the stadium was made for. So, when you're going to this, it looked pretty empty. So that was all of the weaknesses that we noticed, and now I'd like to move on to the opportunities. The first opportunity is that downtown Greenville especially is growing, and it's been growing pretty quickly for the last couple of years, and so that is going to provide an opportunity for more events like this to be held in the area, and it's going to make it a more popular destination for some tourists or anything. And so with the addition of more events like this in the area, that means we'll get more visitors to Greenville, which means they'll go out and visit our restaurants and our stores and everything, and help the city continue to grow as well. Another opportunity that there is for any sporting event is promotions. This includes, dollar beer nights, family ticket packages, giveaways. I know a lot of people throw things into the crowd, or do social media challenges, giving away tickets or prizes or different things like that. And all of those things will help to draw more people to the stadium and to the games. And the last opportunity that I thought about was kind of, every team and every venue really has their own sponsors and their own group of companies that endorse them and that they help promote in return. And so what I'm thinking that would be a good opportunity that I don't believe that they do in any way already is kind of partnering up with their sponsors to do kind of a combined marketing effort, kind of like Chick-fil-A does at Colonial Life Arena with the basketball team. They do the cow drop, and whoever catches the cow with the signature on it gets free Chick-fil-A for a year. So, something like that with one of their sponsors where it's, people at the game are enjoying themselves and, having this exciting opportunity happen to them, but then also the sponsor is benefiting as well because they're the ones who get the credit for, putting it on and giving out the prize. So that's all the opportunities that I have. And lastly, I'd like to move on to the threats that I noticed and that I thought of in regards to the stadium and to the games. The first threat with any outside event is going to be weather. A lot of times, if it's just raining or if it's something not too bad, especially with baseball, they'll play through and they'll push through. But if it gets too bad, or if there's lightning or it's dangerous conditions, they obviously would have to either postpone or cancel the game or delay the game. So that's always going to be a threat, and that's always going to be something that that venue management has to worry about and think about for outside events. And another threat is to a lot of sports events nowadays is technology. A lot of people are ditching venues and watching from home or watching on their mobile devices or keeping up with it through different apps and notifications. So what needs to happen now for these venues to keep generating revenue and getting people to attend the games is compete with that technology, and what can they do to compete and make the at-game experience better than watching it at home or watching it on your phone or on your computer, because that's the only way that they're going to get people to start coming back to the games, is if they make that experience better than the at-home experience. So that is a threat that they're going to have to do in the coming years, and maybe one day if I'm working in a sports management position, will have to think about as well. And that's something that it's only going to keep advancing, so you're only going to have to keep coming up with ideas. The last threat is that there are ample amounts, especially in Greenville and in the surrounding areas and counties, there are a ton of parks, baseball parks, and college campuses that have baseball stadiums and baseball fields. So you know, they're the competition kind of. And Greenville itself doesn't have any really sports teams, professional sports teams other than the baseball team. So they really only have to compete with these smaller parks and college campuses to bring attendance in. So people, if they have children that play a lot of baseball, they might not want to spend even more of their free time at a game, paying for a game and paying for food and doing all of that if they're already getting so much baseball in their lives, or if they are a college student and get, their points for going to baseball games, sometimes you're not going to want to go to another baseball game. But as long as, again, with the last example of technology, they're just going to have to compete with them and make sure that their experience is worth getting that extra game of baseball in. Overall, I think that my friends and I had a pretty good time. We got to enjoy some baseball. It was a really nice night. The weather was cooperating. It's been pretty rainy here in the last few weeks, so it was nice. It was a nice night out, and it was a relief from the rain, so it was good, and we had a good time, and we enjoyed the stadium and the game, and the only problems that we really noticed were, the biggest problem was the long lines at the concession stands, but as I said before, that's a problem that you're going to have really with any large event, so, we weren't really surprised or disappointed or anything at that. So, I mean, overall, it was a good experience. It was a great time and a fun time. Thank you.